Hello everyone, Kim Victoria here. I have discovered for myself three tips, ideas for sewing signatures into a black spine that I want to share with you today. Lately I have been making some journals with black cloth covered journal covers. And it's really hard to find those holes once you've poked them into a black spine. So I wanted to share with you the different ways that I have used, all of which have worked. So let me show you what the ones I've already done, and then I'll show you the tips, and I'll show you all three ways. Okay? So I made this journal, and I covered the entire cover with black cloth and black scrapbook paper. So that was my first realization that, okay, this makes it a little bit challenging finding the holes. Now I did the holes all on the inside, and I'll show you what I did when I was going in from this direction. But yeah, so this one was the first one where I was having this challenge of finding the holes again. There's 5 signatures in this one. And then I did this fun little one, and I only have 2 signatures in this one. I used a different technique for this one. So this is also black on the outside and the inside, completely black cloth covered. And the most recent one is this one, and this fabric has a black background, very complicated design. Again, difficult to see the holes. And I also put the cloth on the inside. Again, it was still difficult to see the holes once I had poked the holes. So these 3 journals used a couple of different of the ideas I want to share with you. And this fabric, I had a small piece of fabric. I had enough for this one and the one that I want to demonstrate for you today. So I think you can kind of see. And in this one, I didn't have enough fabric left to put it on the inside, so I just used another piece of black cloth. Now, of course, the problem with black cloth is it's easy to see the dust and stuff, but that's okay. All right, so the 3 different methods. One is using tissue paper. This is an old embroiderer's trick. So I'm actually going to use this one on some of this spine so you can see it in action. The other thing that you can do is you can use literally chalkboard chalk, or if you are a seamstress at all, you might have some tailor's chalk, which is just really just sharpened chalkboard chalk. There's also a couple of pens. Now this particular one is by Hampton Art Chalk Marker, and it has a mixing ball inside, so you have to mix it up before you use it. This pen, I have no idea where it came from, but if we use it on this scrap, what we can see with this one is that it is a super pale. It just soaks into the fabric. I don't know, can you see that? Let me look at my camera lens. It just soaks right in. So the image is very, very faint. And I did use this on one of those journals because all you need is a dot. Just a dot. And it disappears so much. That dot just, you poke a hole in it and it disappears. Now for this chalk marker, this one is not actual chalk, it's like chalk ink. So you can see that gives you a much more dramatic line. Okay? So when you make a dot, I'm just twisting it in my hand. So when you make a dot, you can see it kind of fades out, but there's still a dot there. And once you poke the hole, it pretty much disappears, right? Now if you have tailor's chalk or chalkboard chalk, and say you want to actually draw the line, that's where this could be really nice. Let's make sure it worked. Yes. So if you want to actually if you want to actually draw the intersections for where the holes are going to go, regular old chalkboard chalk is very nice because you cannot erase. You can kind of fade it a little bit, but these other two markers were really not designed to be erased. They might erase if you actually wash the cloth, but once it's in a journal, you're not going to wash it. Whereas chalkboard chalk, you can get rid of it. You can use a stiff brush. Mostly when those signatures are in, though, you'll never even see that little bit. But you don't have to do a big line. You can just do a little line. So I have used these different techniques, and they have worked. However, for the colorful fabric, let's see, that was this one. For the colorful fabric, because it was colorful in here, that one using the chalk line, that one didn't work too well. So that's where I turned to an old embroiderer's trick. So let us go to that. Now what I did was I already cut a piece of paper. This is not the correct height for the whole journal, but it is the correct height for the signatures themselves. So that's fine. We can make that work. And then I found that I measured this, saw that it's 2 inches for your signatures. This is the width of my spine. There's the middle. I have 5 signatures. So I'm just using, oh, this ruler is very strange. This ruler has 1/10 of an inch on this side and 8/16 and 32 on the other side. So I get kind of mixed up with it sometimes. Of course, you could also use centimeters. If centimeters work out better for you, I use centimeters sometimes because it's like I could put my 5 signatures on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that would work just fine, wouldn't it? And that gives that one a whole centimeter. That one has a whole centimeter. That one, yeah, that works. I'm just going to use centimeters this time. I mean, we're just measuring for success. We're not worried about imperial or metric. Okay. Okay, I have a piece of tissue paper, and it is the same height as the book cover. So I am going to, because it's tissue paper, I'm going to transpose these markings onto the tissue paper. Let's see, I'm also going to mark where the top of the signatures are. I keep calling it tissue paper. It's tracing paper. Actual artist tracing paper. I think you could use tissue paper as in, gift wrap tissue or wet strength tissue or deli paper, but it has to be lightweight. It has to tear easy. You want to be able for it to tear easily. That's the only criteria here, because we're going to be stitching through the tissue paper directly and leave it there until we are completely done, and then we're going to remove it. And that's the old embroiderer's trick. So let's find our edges here. Okay, it's buckling slightly, so I need to come in just a little bit closer. Okay, it's laying flat now. All right. Now I do want to show you both methods. I want to use the tissue paper on this one, the tracing paper. I want to use the tracing paper on this one. Okay, so I have my awl, and I have my little sample of fabric here, and this is an old mouse pad. And I am wiggling the awl around a little bit to make that a slightly bigger hole. Now let's see if it took. There they are. There's your dots. And I can always strengthen them just a little bit. You see that? Oof. I just poked the holes in the paper and then just put the chalk marker through those holes, and I got the dots. Now, let's try that, because I didn't do it this way with the chalk. With the actual chalkboard chalk, I drew lines. Basically what I did was I drew lines right on the fabric, actually on the cloth itself. I drew the lines. I drew the lines right on the spine itself, because this can all get rubbed off. So now the other thing, let's try this, because I didn't try this one. This is also a technique. It was called pouncing, and it was with powdered chalk going through holes. Okay, that did work just enough. I don't know if you could see that. There's just those tiny little dots there, and that's with the chalk. So I can go back in and just strengthen those just the tiniest bit. Okay? So that would work too, is that you could put the chalk right through the holes that you've punched on these 3 places. So that works. And then there's this obscure marker that I don't know what type it is, but it too can just go through the holes. Yep. And it just creates the tiniest little dot. So there we have that. So that's the chalk marker and chalk and this rather obscure little marker that I have no idea what it is, but you never know. You might have another white pen. There's actually whiteout pens. I had not tried that one. Let me see. You remember whiteout, something that we used to use with our typewriters, and I still find it useful occasionally when filling out forms. Let me see how that one goes. Get it started again. This one might have dried out. I haven't used it in a long time. Ta-da! Okay. All right, so now this is with old-fashioned whiteout. Yep, that worked too. I've got some faint little dots. That's all I need on black cloth, is some faint little dots. So there is old-fashioned whiteout. So there's all these ways that you can create the little dots, which are going to disappear with the thread, and once you've poked a hole and you've got a signature attached to that, you don't even see it. So I would like to use the tracing paper. Gotta say it the right way. Okay. So what I do, and this is going to stay here, that's not going to move. So I'm just getting it lined up. And I put one of these clips on it that stays on through the whole process. Yep. I'm just making sure it's centered. And I can move these out of the way when I need to. So there it is. And now I'm just going to go ahead and poke through all of those junction points. And I am not removing the tissue paper. All right, so I'm done with that. What I have found is I do the signatures from the back cover forward. For me, that's just easier. But I do go through, before I do each signature, I go through and I make sure that it's penetrated fully. Now, if you have a fatter awl, you might not want to dig too deep. It depends on your binding thread size, of course. This happens to be a bookbinder's awl, so it's one even size all the way up the shaft. So I'm just making sure that I'm going all the way through, penetrating. But you can see when I bring that out, the holes are hard to see. Let's see, I think, yeah, the holes are really hard to see. So yeah, that's the tricky part. Let me go ahead and get this one started. Back to front. Okay, so here is the last signature. I don't always put it in open. A lot of times I just put it in like this and aim. And then I can leave the needle in that one, pull that out, and just get started. You've seen this a million times before. The only thing that's different is that I am actually going through the tissue paper. Now, to find this hole up here, actually I'm going to go down here. I'm just going to put the needle through the awl through. And what that does is it shows me where the hole is. And then, while I'm seeing that, I can just gently poke around until I find it, and then I can go through easily. So that one would be perhaps the most challenging one in the sense that it's... Okay, where did that needle go? Okay, that took a while, but there it is. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of them in, and it does, you know, it's a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, and there's a lot of layers, so it does take time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the rest of these, and then I'm going to show you how easy it is to take this tracing paper out. Okay, well, I feel like I did kind of an awkward demonstration there, and I know you can find lots of wonderful videos on 3-hole pamphlet stitch with especially Natasha on Treasure Books. So when I got to the third signature, the middle signature, I did have to move these clips out so that they cleared the signatures, but still were holding that tracing paper in place. So I don't need these now. and everything is in there. So here we have the tracing paper is still where it was. And it tears out. So then we just have to work our way through the middle. And you can use your awl to kind of sneak under there, and you can see that it's loose now. So it's a little bit fiddly. If these were closer together, it might be a little trickier. You could also use your awl to score, and that's not going to damage the fabric underneath at all. Oh yeah. Let's do that again. So just and then the last one comes right out. So that's the tissue paper trick. So let me fill up the pockets and we'll do a flip through, and yeah, that'll be that. You know, in case you're not watching it, let me just say that I just thought this would be maybe a useful tip, and I would love to hear your comments in case you hadn't ever thought of this before. But the chalk also works well. All of these things have worked for me. Whether it's, I haven't used the whiteout yet, but that would work too. But this chalk marker and actual chalk, and this very strange little marker. Anyway, these have all worked for me, and so I hope that that was a helpful tip. Please let me know in the comments. So now to the flip through. So here's the flip through of this journal, and with this journal I am including some offcuts that made a very nice little notepad. So that's just part of the package because I'll be selling this on my Etsy shop. So there it is. This is that really colorful fabric that I actually made two of. You can see they're two different sizes. This one is US letter size A2 for all the pages. And one of the goals with what I am doing with this particular little group of journals is I've been doing a lot of storage organizing, and I have a lot of scrapbook paper that was given to me after the fire, which was so sweet and wonderful. And but there's just gorgeous paper, and I want to use it. So that's what I've been doing. Now I make very sturdy covers now. I mean, I always made sturdy covers, but I've learned over all of this experience of years and hundreds of journals how to make just really nice ones, I must say. I love doing the cloth cover because, and especially just even the cloth spine, if nothing else, because cloth is just so durable and it makes a wonderful spine. But I also have a lot of scrap fabric, and I want to use that too. I want to enjoy it. So this one is very colorful. I went with the whole floral kind of thing. I have this explosion of flowers and just found papers that just seem to, well, actually it's a complement in the color world. You know, yellow and purple are complements from each other, but we have everything else in here, the blue and the orange and the red and everything. So yeah, I did a little bit of rubber stamping for fun. This is just a journaling card. Again, just using things in the stash. I got a whole ream of this yellow paper, so it's been fun to include that. So really quick, I have these really large doilies. And here's another little, this one is, oh come on, there it is. This one is a little waterfall. And these are the offcuts from these pages, right? So I popped that into this doily, which tucks, it tucks under that little flap. There, so that holds that. So yeah, I kept it simple. I didn't do a lot. It's graph paper as far as decorating. I'm really thinking about the person who owns this journal and their own creativity. They might turn this into a glue book. It might be a writing journal. Might be for quotes. It might be, they might add pockets. They might do all kinds of fun things. This again is just a little offcut paper clipped in. So I like to leave it as something for whoever owns this journal. Sometimes I like to just embellish like crazy, but I'm making this series of them and I've got them on my Etsy shop, and they're really just to give somebody a foundation for their own creativity. I also have a little stack of these circles. They were just, I think there's 8 of them here, but I did the little Brad swivel. Just a fun little extra there. There's even a little space. I left that open back there, so that could hold something short. Another doily. And there it is. So I hope my binding tip was helpful, and thank you so much for being here, and see you next time. Bye bye for now.